It's Thursday in New York and time for us Fitzgees. I'm the only Fitzgee on the program today, though. I'm Pegeen, simply because it was not possible for us to do the broadcast today from our apartment. And I had to come down to the studio. Well, it's not very practical for Edward to come down to the studio. So will you put up with me alone today? I have a couple of odd things that have turned up in New York lately, places that you may not know about and you just might like to know about. One of them is a bookshop, and the name of it intrigues me mightily. It's called Murder Inc., and Inc. is spelled I-N-K, not I-N-C. This unusual bookshop is on the Upper West Side of Manhattan, and it is open only from 5 in the afternoon until 10 o'clock at night, because the owner, whose name is Dilys Wynn, is a lady who prefers to sleep late in the morning. Her unusual bookshop deals entirely in murder mysteries of all kinds. And I understand that she does about $50,000 worth of business a year, which is enough to keep her in reading matter. And it's certainly one of the few bookshops of its kind in the whole country, I guess the only one in New York. I, of course, was especially interested in Miss Wynn because when she does go to her bookshop at 5 in the afternoon, she takes her 3 cats and a basset hound named Watson with her. And I'm indebted to David Wysocki, who writes for the Wall Street Journal, for information about this bookshop, which, since we're so interested in books anyhow, just amuses us no end. And I was amazed to find out that as an avid reader of murder mysteries and all, that Miss Wynn has divided her stock into categories, 5 different categories. She calls some of them the hard-boiled detective adventures, others police procedures, others English tea-cake ladies, such as the Agatha Christie spy stories and the classic horror tales. And she claims she's read about 80% of the books on the shelves, and her own favorite is Paul Cavanagh's Such Men Are Dangerous, a spy thriller with a viciously cruel protagonist. And she says when you talk to her that her books she sells at Murder Inc. are not the kind that you're apt to find displayed on a coffee table or even on a bedside table. She said people usually hide them. And I don't know, the mystery murder readers that I've known always seem to be rather proud of the fact that they're up on thrillers. And I myself, I like to read rehashes of real crimes and real detective situations and solutions. But I've never become a fan of the fantasy thriller at all. Maybe there's something wrong with my taste in books, because I think I'm certainly in the minority. If you want to call Murder Inc., I-N-K, not I-N-C, her phone number is 362-8905. But remember, she doesn't open the shop till 5 in the afternoon. There is another unusual place in New York that has just come to my attention, and it's called the Lower Manhattan Ocean Club on Chambers Street. And it's so unusual, and I just want to tell you a little bit about it. And I will after I talk first about some other things, some of them of a commercial nature and some of them not. One that's not, but I've had telephone calls about it since mentioning it the other day, is a craft studio in Denville, New Jersey. And it's run by June Meyer. Her title is president of the Cricket Cage. That's the name of this craft studio. And in Denville, New Jersey, June Meyer and her associates teach all sorts of crafts, arts and crafts things, including how to make beaded flowers. But one of the things that seems to intrigue their customers most is the art of collage. And of course they have all the materials that one needs to learn collage. Now Denville is near Morristown, if that gives you a place to peg where Denville is in New Jersey. And I don't think anyone who'd ever heard the name Cricket Cage would ever forget the name of it. I take my hat off to them for really a marvelous title for this craft studio. And then I, every year, usually tell you about the Hancock Shaker Village in Pittsfield, Massachusetts, when they have their annual festival of shaker crafts and industries. Well, it's going to take place this Saturday and Sunday. And at Pittsfield, at the Hancock Shaker Village, local craftspeople all demonstrate the historical crafts of the shakers. And this goes on from 10 in the morning till 4:30 in the afternoon, both days. And they have shaker chair taping and carpentry and weaving and broom making and blacksmithing and bookbinding and beekeeping, and also they demonstrate butter churning, and they have taffy pulls and a wild herb gathering expedition, and shaker music and dancing is a special feature. And the festival is almost always very well attended. They have slide presentations about shaker industries, and the Hancock Shakers are they plan to supplement the crafts demonstration too. And you know, their cooking is always so marvelous. There's always so many wonderful foods to taste. Now, this Hancock Shaker Village is a restored shaker community and museum, and it's about 5 miles west of Pittsfield, Massachusetts, on U.S. Route 20. And there is an admission charge for this. It's $3 for grown-ups and $1 for children who are under 12. And the admission fee includes the demonstrations, which will be held in the restored buildings. And there is a lunch shop in the recreation center for the convenience of visitors to the Hancock Shaker Village. Since people do travel up that way through our part of Connecticut, I'm always asked about the Woodridge Lake place that we talk about. Well, that will be on our list, I believe, again tomorrow, and I'll tell you more about the Woodridge Lake area that you just might want to visit at the same time you go up to Pittsfield if you go to the Shaker Festival there on this Saturday and Sunday. And lately, I've been talking about a vegetable factory, which is a new kind of a greenhouse that just has me so intrigued. I just can't wait to see one in operation. So far, I've only seen color pictures of it. But this is a new solar panel vegetable factory greenhouse, and it costs about 1/3 as much to heat as an ordinary greenhouse, and it will pay for itself, they say, in a few years if you grow vegetables and fruit and plants and flowers the year round. And it certainly should be a pleasure to have one of these things. It's available, this thing called the Vegetable Factory Greenhouse, available factory direct, no stores and no dealers. And I'm told that that's why they can keep the price down substantially. And I do have a phone number that you can call for more information, and if the lines are busy, they say please try again. Incidentally, there's a double wall on this solar heating greenhouse, and it's made of something like all fiberglass, but the sunlight still goes through, and the results seem to be absolutely amazing. Well, the phone number to call about this vegetable factory greenhouse is a 212 number. It's 686-0173. 686-0173. I have Sandler and Worth on my list today. Don't I almost always have it? Well, they have a couple of spectacular carpet buys on discontinued floor coverings. It's really a double-header sale. You can save when you buy a beautiful inch-thick nylon velvet that is so luxurious. They have it on sale now at $10.99 a square yard, and that includes installation and cushion. And then they also have another one that is an Antron plush, soil hiding Antron plush. It's only $13.99 a yard in this sale, and of course that includes cushion and installation. And since Sandler and Worth bought all the stock of these two, they've got all there is. When this is gone, there isn't any more. But you'll be delighted, I think, with these specials if you go to Sandler and Worth in Springfield, in Paramus, in North Brunswick, Succossuna, and Nanuet, New York, or any other of their fine stores. And I had such fun recently when I went up to the Brotherhood Winery in Washingtonville, which is only an hour away from New York. That is Washingtonville, New York. And you get to go on conducted free wine tasting tours there at this Brotherhood Winery, which is the oldest winery in America. Now, these caves are stone-lined, beautiful from an architectural standpoint, and these enormous white oak casks there with all the wines in them are impressive, and the information that the guide tours give you is fun to hear. And the tasting, that's the best. You get to taste the variety of distinguished wines, from rich-bodied sherries and ports to their fine table wines and the fancy aperitifs. Now, the wine tasting tour is free, and it goes on, starts at 10 in the morning. I think the whole tour lasts an hour and a half. And every day, Monday through Saturday. They're closed on Sundays. And the wine tasting tour is free. There is a parking charge for your car. I believe that's $1.50. But remember, that's in Washingtonville, New York, and you take the thruway to Route 17 and then to 208, and you're there. And we're the Fitzgeralds, or I'm the only Fitzgerald here today, because I had to come down to the studio to do this program, and it wasn't very convenient for Edward to come down here with me, so he'll be on the air with me again tomorrow. I started telling you about a place called the Lower Manhattan Ocean Club on Chambers Street that opened about 3 months ago, and it's kind of a sophisticated supper club and discotheque, and they actually boast that their decoration is 1950 luncheonette style, with booths and with neon lights, neon signs, and those greasy spoon type of salt and pepper shakers, and then hanging from the ceiling are Frosty Meyer's avant-garde light sculptures. This is something really to bowl you over when you see something proudly done in that type of decor. And the habitués table hop, and one of the favorite things that they order there is snails and beer. And I hadn't actually heard of that combination before, but they all seem to like it. Many of the people who go there dress in bowling jackets or Hawaiian shirts and berets and a lot of vintage clothes, the kind of things that you find in the second-hand clothing shops. I always tell you about the one where Kathy Novak buys so many of her clothes, a place called Early Halloween, which seems to me to be very aptly named. But I'm indebted to Ann Pinkerton for information. She's the one who told me first about the Lower Manhattan Ocean Club on Chambers Street, and she describes it as kind of an underground place where those in the know go and rarely tell you about it. They want to keep the discovery to themselves. Well, if you're interested in this sort of thing, now you know where it is too, and you know the name of it, the Lower Manhattan Ocean Club on Chambers Street. Abraham and Strauss called me up today and told me that they're going to repeat an interior decorating course. They gave one last year, I think, or earlier this spring it was, this year. And it's a 2-hour-a-week course for 6 weeks for all women, and I guess men, who want to learn the rudiments of interior decorating. And you pay $40 for this whole course, and they have some pretty impressive names from the AID decorator group and all who take part in this instruction. And they actually had 2,000 people take that course in the spring of this year. So goodness knows if they had 2,000 then, the first time they did it, they'll probably have 3,000 this time. But then it's all divided between the several or many A&S stores. So if you want to know anything about that, I guess you could call them and find out about it. I'm told that by someone who took the course that she felt that it was well worth the money, the $40 that they charged. Matter of fact, she's surprised. She said that they didn't charge more. Now, over in New Jersey, if you've listened to our program very long, you know I have a dear darling favorite in the Marcus jewelry stores. The Marcus family own these stores, and there are 5 of them, one in Rutherford, one in Hackensack, another in Ridgewood and in Westfield, and then the newest one in the Paramus Park Shopping Center. Oh, that one is so beautiful. Well, the Marcus jewelry stores, they're undoubtedly the Tiffany's of New Jersey, and they have a diamond island, they call it, where the diamonds, well, they start at a modest $200, but they go on up and up and up. And Stanley Marcus himself is a diamond expert of distinction, and the designs, that many of them, Stanley's own designs, are just so lovely. But they have, of course, all the precious gems, and a watch department that's beyond belief, a department of gifts for brides especially, wedding ring department. And then they have the prettiest and nicest of the fine costume jewelry. And I hope you keep Marcus in mind when you have jewelry on your mind. Worth perfumes? Well, great many of my favorite stores have a special right now on Worth perfume that I want to talk to you about. Worth's famous perfume is Je Reviens, a long-lasting fragrance that combines jasmine and iris and orange blossoms. And it's a heavenly blend. I think it's just so distinctive. No wonder they call it Je Reviens, which translates to mean I will return. Well, normally you pay for an 1/8-ounce bottle of Worth Je Reviens perfume, $8.50. But now, for a limited time, you will receive a bonus of 2 ounces of eau de cologne at no extra charge. That's a $14.50 value for only $8.50. And around here, this is a very it's a top favorite with many of us. We just love it. If you go to a store for Worth, and almost every fine store has Worth perfume counter, you don't even have to remember that name, Je Reviens. Just remember Worth, and you'll find it there. It's in a pretty redwood blue box, this offer is. And remember, you can always try it before you buy. They always have an open bottle there, or a spray that you can try it and see if you like it, not only for yourself, but maybe to have on hand, when there's an unexpected gift occasion that comes up. One of the stores that is especially featuring this Worth perfume special is Bloomingdale's. Now, Breakstone is Breakstone's cottage cheese. If you like the creamy California style or the pineapple or all 6 kinds, you just have the comforting knowledge that it's nature's pure deliciousness. Nothing artificial, no chemicals, no preservatives, no additives, just pure, wholesome, natural ingredients that are good to eat and good for you. And if you look for all-natural Breakstone cottage cheese in the new carton with the tulip on it, and dig in and have a spoonful of nature, you'll probably be shilling for it, even as I do, because it is so marvelous. And the other fine Breakstone products available at your grocers are the Tempty whipped cream cheese, the Swiss parfait yogurt, sour cream, butter, dips, ricotta, all made with the famous Breakstone quality. And I'm Pegeen Fitzgerald, alone here today because Edward, I'm down at the studio instead of broadcasting from home, and it was just easier for me to come down here by myself rather than to have Edward make the trip down here. It's not quite that easy for him to get around. I don't know how you feel about home sewing, but I don't actually do much home sewing anymore. I used to sew for myself and my 5 sisters, and I always thought that a home sewer had a little bit of an edge on those who buy clothes off the rack, because if it's a season when many things are sleeveless and you want sleeves, you can always make it with sleeves. Or you hear about something new from Paris, or see the sketches of something new, and you don't have to wait for manufacturers to make it and then to get it in the stores. If you're at all ingenious at sewing, you can usually get the material and make it up right away for yourself. Or if you have a little dressmaker, you can have her or him do it. Now, there is a dressmaker, a new place that opened on the building where we live is on 59th Street, but it goes through to 58th, and there's an exit and entrance on the 58th Street side, and right across from our building is a new little shop. It's only been open a few days. It's a little bigger than a hole in the wall, but I never saw such lovely bolts of fabric as he has there. And he's a young man, an Italian, and I think he spelled his name Gimmaco, something like that. The sign wasn't even all up when I was there the other day, so I didn't get to finish seeing what his name was. But in the window, he had a beige outfit with a kind of a coppery taffeta coat that had a banding of interesting braid, just exactly like the things that were reported from the Yves Saint Laurent collection in Paris. He had some things already made up on racks that I could see, not a great many, maybe 10 or 12 different models, but then he had all these beautiful materials, and he would copy anything in his models there in whatever fabric or color you wanted. Now, I didn't get a chance to find out the prices, but the workmanship was beautiful. And I also saw a stack of fabrics the type that would be used in men's suits. And I said, "Are you a tailor, also a men's tailor?" And he said, "Oh, yes." He said, I do as much menswear as I do making clothes for women. And he had daytime models and lovely evening things. And it's so unusual to see so many bolts of pure silk material because you just almost don't find that anymore. He didn't have his phone in yet, but if you are on 58th Street between 5th and 6th, you'll find this little shop. It's actually part of the Wyndham Hotel, and it's next to a restaurant that used to be called Jonathan's. That's vacant right now, I believe. But if you go to the Paris Theater there on the same street where the 58th Street entrance of Bergdorf Goodman is, you'll find this Paris Theater, and then right next to that is that new Shiswan restaurant that is a Pakistani restaurant that's so elegant and beautiful. And then there's that new Avon building, and then the Wyndham Hotel, where this little shop is, where all the beautiful materials and where this man, an Italian man, I believe, will make things to order. And I do have a sewing machine. Remember back when even before I was doing commercials for Viking machines, I owned a Viking. And every now and then I do get a chance to make something, but not. And I don't have enough time to make the things that I'd really like to have. And since there's been such a change since the Saint Laurent collection was shown, and since the beautiful fabrics are coming back, it would almost seem that there won't be so much the double knits or anything. The lovelier, more drapey fabrics are really beautiful. And there's one new fabric out. I think it's called Swish. And it has what the fabric people call the rustle of silk. It's actually a polyester blend. This particular one called Swish is. It's made by Loom somebody is the name of the maker. But there's one word that's used in the fabric business for the rustle of silk, whether it's just another fabric that rustles the way silk rustles, but they call it swoosh. And I don't know exactly how you spell it, but I always thought it was kind of lovely to have a name like that. I have Encyclopedia Britannica on the list today and a phone number to give you, one of those 800 numbers that means toll-free. Well, all of us, I think, at times wish we had an encyclopedia to consult or to study, and certainly if you have children, you're just wondering if they have the proper type of reference books for their studies. And there is a way to get a 36-page brochure that shows you the advantages of the new Britannica 3 encyclopedia over other encyclopedias and reference books. You get this 36-page brochure by mail by making a phone call. It's a toll-free phone call. Now, some consider the new Britannica 3's arrival as the greatest publishing event in history. There are over 32,000 pages, 25,000 illustrations, 1,900 maps, and it's a storehouse of knowledge. You'd probably have to have a library of at least 1,000 books to get all this information. Otherwise, if you didn't have this set, it's a 30-volume encyclopedia set. And to get the brochure about it and to help you or your children educate themselves in any field you might think of, the number to call is 800-228-2200. That's 800. That means toll-free. 228-2200. 228-2200. And I've had more letters from insurance people lately since I told about having a session with a couple of insurance experts who are with the international underwriters. And at the time I said that I wondered if there were only insurance men, if there weren't any insurance women. Well, I've heard from about 5 or 6 insurance companies lately, and one of them told me that they do have 45 women agents in New York City, but I think that's most unusual. I'm going to check with them and find out just exactly what type of insurance those women sell. But anyhow, I found out from the international underwriters that people who have been turned down for insurance because of previous history, maybe they've had heart attacks or diabetes or cancer, and people who are over 60 who usually are turned down for insurance, that there is a special policy that will help pay hospital bills not covered by Medicare, and it's for people who, it's designed to supplement Medicare, and if you have Blue Cross and would like supplemental insurance protection, this would be for you too, whatever age. But people over 60 and other people who have been turned down for insurance might want to get this information. And there's a phone number to call on this, because they have to give you details on costs and coverage and limitations, renewability, and how the plan works. It's called the Extra Care Plan, and under it, it's a policy of the Continental Casualty Company. And for a very moderate cost, you can be assured of up to $350 per week whenever you're hospitalized, and you receive this protection up to 52 weeks. And there are even other benefits. Now, the number to call in New York is a 212 number, and if you're in New Jersey, you can call it Collect. It's 581-4200, 581-4200, 581-4200. My dear Mountain Valley Water people are, they're housed right here in this same building where WOR is at 1440 Broadway. Their phone number is a 212 number, EX1-1112. In New Jersey, the Mountain Valley people have a 201 number, of course. That's 748-6868. But water from Hot Springs, Arkansas, this lovely water, Mountain Valley water, is sold in all 48 states on the continent here. And it is so good and so deliciously tasteless, and that's the way water should be, for my money. It has earned a nationwide demand, and this spring has never failed in over 100 years, and Mountain Valley Water's combination of excellent taste and fine effect will make it very special to you. If you want a free booklet about it, let us know. You can buy Mountain Valley Water in many stores, or you can have it sent by the case. We have it sent 4 cases at a time. EX1-1112 is the number to call in New York City. EX1-1112 in New Jersey, 201-748-6868. And speaking of water, but not drinking water this time, I found out something the other day from John Leonard. He said that a person he knows who likes cane-bottom chairs because of the comfort said that he got so tired of having to have the bottoms of his cane chairs recaned every year or two because they wore out or became rump-sprung or something. So he said he decided, since the cane itself was a vegetable matter and would probably benefit by having some moisture applied now and then, and he said he thought that perhaps the dry heat in his apartment contributed to the fact that the cane seats wore out so fast. He decided when he watered the plants every morning on his windowsill, he was going to pour some water on the cane seats of the chairs. And he says since he's been doing that, that he just rarely has to have a cane seat recaned. Now, I haven't tried that myself. I don't know anything about it, but I suppose there is a bit of logic there. Maybe it does work. I just really don't know. I have found always so many things that work and that make sense from a standpoint of health. I found these things in Prevention magazine. It's published by Rodale Press, and for many years it's just been the standby of so many people. I think they have 1.5 million subscribers, and I wish you'd subscribe, but you don't have to decide without seeing an issue of it. If you make a phone call, they'll send you a current issue of Prevention, and after you read it, you can make up your mind. Do you want to pay $5.85 for 12 monthly issues for a whole year, or don't you? Well, if you don't want to subscribe, when they send you a statement, just write cancel on it, and that's the end of it. You still keep the copy of Prevention that they have sent you, and you also keep a 37-page report on good health and how to obtain it that they also send you as a little extra bonus. You needn't send either of those things back. They belong to you. So this is a no-obligation deal at all. But if you do want this free copy of Prevention to find out whether or not you want it, phone a 212 number, and if you're out of town, call Collect. It's 757-5650. 757-5650. 850. I guess we were about the first ones on the air to talk about Cynar, the Italian aperitif that is so refreshingly different. You spell it Cynar. Most package stores have it. Most bartenders know about it too, especially since the vogue for the Floridian cocktail has come in. In Florida, they first started mixing 1/3 Cynar with 1/3 orange juice and 1/3 7-Up. And it is delicious. Over ice, it's so thirst-quenching, and it's even pretty to look at. And of course, Cynar, Cynar, it's spelled, it is the all-time best-selling favorite in aperitif in Switzerland. In Italy and France, and in Spain, and in South America, it has its devotees. And it's just recently been introduced into the United States, and I think that you'll like it very much indeed. And it's kind of a conversation provoker, too. It's imported by Cynar Aperitif USA. And again, it's spelled Cynar. I don't know whether or not you are a jukebox what do they call it? Aficionado, I guess. But I was amazed to see that the IRS had to rule on a question of whether or not a jukebox becomes a coin-operated gaming device simply because it's rigged to offer 2 to 8 bonus plays to someone who's willing to venture an extra coin. And the IRS ruled that the extra plays couldn't be converted to cash or merchandise, and so therefore it was not in the long run a coin-operated gambling device, as somebody had claimed. So maybe that's one extra vote for our side. It's not often that any of us seem to win in anything in connection with the IRS, but it's not impossible, as we have just found out. And I had another little memo here that I had written to myself because I wanted to. Well, I talked about a couple of parties at Fire Island recently. One of them was a dance held on a dance floor made of wood, like a raft, that extended out into the water, and the edges of it were all outlined in white balloons, so that you wouldn't just dance overboard without noticing it. At least the balloons would give you some idea of how far the raft extended. Well, there was another party given on Fire Island this past week that was called the Red Ball, and it was held in a tent, and the entire tent was made of red chiffon. Now, isn't that just too elegant for words? I don't know what you do with a red chiffon tent if indeed it survives a whole evening. I suppose there'd be enough remnants left to make up into dresses or scarves or something like that. But the host who gave the Red Ball and Fire Island, under this red chiffon tent, which sounds so elegant, he himself wore a black bikini and tall wading boots and a red gingham shirt tied over his shoulders. And I don't know, we don't have so much party reporting anymore as we used to have when Life magazine and Look were going full-fledged, but I personally hope somebody took some color pictures of that combination. And well, maybe people took pictures of it. Maybe it'll show up there. I don't think that Ms. would have it. I doubt even that Cosmopolitan would have pictures on that. So I guess it'll be a people report, people or nothing, if we're going to see pictures of that. And you know, I miss the newsreels. We used to get odd glimpses of odd goings-on when there were newsreels. But we don't get that anymore. We do get, of course, the TV coverage. Maybe somebody from TV, maybe from Channel 7 was there for the Red Ball under a red chiffon tent with the host dressed in a black bikini, wading boots, and a red gingham shirt tied over his shoulders. I'm sorry I missed it. we have now a message from the Virginia people about their tourism.
From Jamestown by the sea, through this beautiful land of our history, Virginia is yours to love.
Virginia in the fall is golden sunshine in colonial Williamsburg, and Blue Ridge Mountains turn crimson and flame. It's miles of beaches still summer warm, Jamestown, Yorktown, and the Shenandoah Valley at wine-sap time. Plan now for your vacation in Virginia this fall with a free 36-page color vacation guide. To get your copy, write or visit the Virginia State Travel Service, 11 Rockefeller Plaza, or give us a call. Discover a very special serenity that comes only once a year in Virginia this fall.
She's out there waiting for you. There's so much you're gonna love to do. Virginia is yours to love.
Now there's a tasty way to add variety to mealtime without adding cholesterol or animal fat. You can serve old-fashioned hash, plantation casserole, or Hawaiian treats made from Morningstar Farm breakfast links, patties, strips, or slices. And all these new recipes, plus 22 others, are available in a menu maker recipes file from Morningstar's Farm, and it's free to WOR listeners. I have one here, and it's really a very handsome booklet on very nice paper, one that you'll probably keep and use for years. And all you do is to send a self-addressed stamped business-size envelope, you know, a number 10 envelope, and send it to Morningstar Farm Recipes, WOR, 1440 Broadway, New York, 10018. And they'll send you free this 12-page menu planner. And as an additional bonus, if you write on your recipe request the number of times that Morningstar Farms is printed on a package of Morningstar Farms links, you'll be eligible for a random drawing for a beautiful AM/FM clock radio. And the drawing will take place on September 19th, and the winner will be notified by mail. And the details are available at WOR. Incidentally, these Morningstar Farm products are featured at a reduced price this week at Pathmark. And I have one last commercial message here today. The chemists at Safeguard have formulated a quick, pleasant-to-use, economical way to rid your house of resistant roaches and persistent ants. It comes in black and red aerosol cans bearing the blackjack label. And blackjack not only kills crawling insects quickly, but its killing effectiveness lasts for weeks in sprayed areas. That sounds brutal, doesn't it? Most important, blackjack is uniquely effective against resistant roaches and water bugs, strains which have built up a resistance to conventional pesticides. Now, blackjack formulas are regularly tested for effectiveness and are modified when necessary. And blackjack is absolutely guaranteed by the Safeguard Chemical Corporation, and it's available. The blackjack ant and roach formula is available at your favorite Pathmark supermarket. So now you know exactly where to go to get it. I have had requests from people who, now that the summer is near the end, wish that they had sent earlier for that book about budget motels and hotels across the country. It's a simple little book that you do pay $1 for it, and you have to send to St. Paul, Minnesota to get it, but apparently it has been invaluable to many listeners who did send for it earlier in the year when we first talked about it. And so I'll give you that box number in St. Paul, Minnesota, where you send for the budget motel booklet. One nice thing about it, every listing of these motels it gives the price that you pay for single occupancy or double occupancy in one bed or double occupancy in two beds and all that. And then they usually indicate whether or not pets or children are welcome, if the pets and the children are well behaved. And what got me interested in this, I have nothing to do with it really at all, except that I found out that since even staying in motels has become so expensive that many people who travel a lot or families who go on vacation just find the overnight charges so astronomical that it limits their traveling. And I also found out that many big businesses who have men who travel on the road men or women who travel on the road, have provided them with copies of this budget motel and hotel listing, so they'll know where the less expensive motels are, and will know too that those motels are they're neat and clean and fine. They may not be have all the frills of some of the more expensive ones, but they're places that you won't be disappointed in, price considered. Well, the budget motel thing, the box number is 5203. 5203, Post Office Box 5203, St. Paul, Minnesota. And the zip is 55104. And that's just a labor of love on my part. 55104. I was talking about Staten Island at length the other day because I had spent an afternoon on the pilot boats, the Sandy Hook pilot boats. Both the New Jersey and the New York happened to be in at the Sandy Hook Pilots Pier, the Coast Guard pier that they use in Staten Island. And in talking about Staten Island, I did say that 2 or 3 places that I had been to, 2 or 3 commercial places, didn't look like so much on the outside, but when you got inside, these shops and restaurants and things were extremely nice. I was mentioning one for one, the Quaker Gift Shop. And another, I talked about a restaurant that I went to called Teresa and Minna's. And Teresa and Mimo, M-I-M-M-O, that was the name of the restaurant on Richmond Avenue. And it isn't that they look so awful from the outside, but they just don't look as distinguished on the outside as they do on the inside. And I believe somebody at the Staten Island Chamber of Commerce thought that I was running down Staten Island. Well, I really wasn't, because on other occasions I have talked about the perfectly beautiful homes and outlooks, especially in the hills of Staten Island that overlook the bay. There's some of the most beautiful places that one could ever want there. But then some of those streets that are given over to commerce are not especially impressive looking. The Staten Island Chamber of Commerce did send me a lot of information about it. I'm reading it as I get a chance to, and I intend to visit Staten Island more often because I find it quite an intriguing place. But I noticed that the Times on Tuesday had a rather lengthy presentation of the Sailor's Snug Harbor that is being given up for that use in Staten Island, and all of the occupants of Sailor's Snug Harbor there have been moved down to a place in North Carolina called Sea Level, North Carolina. There are 2 holdouts. 2 of the old sailors absolutely refused to move, so they're still occupying the grounds there, and the grounds are so beautiful. And I think at first that somebody had designs on it to make the place that was for so long occupied by Sailor Snug Harbor, to make it into high-rise apartments, but now there is a determined effort to keep the grounds as a public park, and I hope they do. It's a very beautiful, beautiful section. But if you still have Tuesday's New York Times on page 19, yes, page 19, there's more than half a page about it, and interesting stories from the retired seamen who used to live there in Staten Island and who have now been moved to this Sea Level, North Carolina, all but the two who just absolutely refused to go. And you'd think from the interviews with these older sailors that they were young sailors, and the kind of entertainment that they think they would like to have available to them. You would think that they were just young men just off a ship in port for a few days. They're not the rocking chair retirement type of people at all, if the interviews can be believed, and I believe them. They were written by Wayne King and were sent special to the New York Times from their new home in Sea Level, North Carolina. I hope you still have the paper, the Times of Tuesday, if you hadn't read it, so that you can look it up. I'm going to repeat that the name of that bookshop on the Upper West Side that so intrigued me, called Murder Inc., I-N-K, a bookshop given over entirely to murder mysteries, mostly paperbacks, some hardcovers, and a few collector's items, some collector item in books where the prices would go up and up, maybe to $200 or $300. It's on the Upper West Side, Murder Inc., and it's open not it doesn't open till 5 in the afternoon. It's open from 5 to 10. And the phone number of this unusual place is 362-8905. 362-8905. Edward will be back on the program with me tomorrow, and I hope you'll all be tuned in then. We're the Fitzgeralds here 5 days a week at this time on WOR, the Talk of New York. Actually, we usually say that our program is book talk, back talk, and small talk. We ought to add a few more compartments to that. Trivia and not so trivia, and very often, as today, with a lot of shopping news. I hope that you'll all be tuned in tomorrow, and now we'll hear from Joan, who's substituting for Sherry Henry.